Dad made the call, his voice firm. It's settled. Your sister gets your high-end SUV. She's got children. Heads bobbed in agreement around the table. I slid the folder from my bag. Funny you mentioned children, I said. Here's what she did with the last car she was lent. Uncle Ron's jaw dropped when he saw the evidence. My name's Simon. I'm 36, and I run a mid-sized travel agency crafting tailored trips for families and small groups. Half the year, I live out of a suitcase, answering emails in airport lounges, and I can pack a carry-on in under 10 minutes. In my family, I'm the reliable one, code for the guy who pays, fixes, drives, and smooths things over. I'm the eldest. My sister Tessa is 32 with 2 kids. Our parents live a short drive away. I show up for Sunday dinners because it's tradition. I bring pie, I bring coffee. I bring the car seats, since I'm always the one driving someone home. That Sunday, I brought a folder too. It was a plain, drab folder that clashed with Mom's tablecloth and the plastic flowers on the runner. I set it on the chair beside me, hoping I wouldn't need it. I told myself we'd handle this like grown-ups. We didn't. Dad waited until the roast was served, mouths full. Then he clinked his glass with a spoon, like he was chairing a board meeting. All right, he said. It's settled. He avoided my eyes, glancing at Mom, then Tessa, then at Uncle Ron, who was already smirking like he knew the outcome. Dad cleared his throat. Your sister gets your SUV, Simon. She's got kids, she needs the room. The room didn't hush, it buzzed. Nods, murmurs. Mom said, naturally, like we were debating a forecast. Tessa's husband, Dan, mumbled, logical, his eyes glued to his phone. Tessa let out a breath like a burden had been lifted, one she never intended to carry. I blinked. Once, twice. My SUV, I said, making sure I heard right. The one registered to my business. The one I use for client trips. Dad snorted. Business, SH mussiness. It's parked in your garage half the time. Your nephew's stroller doesn't fit in our sedan. Use your compact for work. Mom chimed in. Be sensible, Simon. You're unattached. You don't need a fancy car. Tessa shrugged. You can buy another one. Don't make a scene. Something in my chest coiled, but my voice stayed steady. You decided this without me. Dad's jaw twitched. Don't start. Family helps family. Right, I said. Family helps family. I reached for the folder. Funny you mention kids, I said, placing it on the table. Because here's what Tessa did with the last car she borrowed. Dan's thumb froze on his phone. Mom's fork hovered. Tessa's smile faltered, then collapsed. I opened the folder. Emails printed, insurance papers, the police report, photos, crumpled bumper, twisted signpost, the powdery haze of deployed airbags. Uncle Ron leaned closer without asking. He gasped at the first image. Whoa, he said. Tessa's voice shrank. Simon, I didn't speak. Not yet. I let the papers sit there, next to the mashed potatoes clashing with the family narrative they clung to. I kept breathing. In, out, I recalled my therapist's advice. Stick to facts, not emotions, when they try to rewrite the past. I remembered every time I'd swallowed the same phrase. It's settled. I looked at Tessa, at my parents, at the space my silence used to occupy. For the first time in years, I didn't rush to fill it. My business looks glamorous from the outside. Instagram shots from Capri, a client's tagged post from their anniversary trip, the occasional brag of a sweet upgrade. The reality is budgets, contracts, and waking at 4 a.m. to reroute a family because their kid got sick before a flight to Barcelona. I built the agency from a corner desk in a rented flat with a creaky chair and a neighbor who played guitar at 1 a.m. I took calls during lunch breaks from my old job, then quit and juggled 2 side gigs to pay the bills. I learned to pitch, haggle, and apologize with my whole body. While I was doing that, my family learned one thing about me. I'd say yes. Simon, can you spot us till next week? Dad would text. Simon, preschool fees went up. Can you chip in? From Tessa. Simon, your aunt's glasses, Mom would add like an afterthought. I said yes because I remembered when we had nothing. Because I thought that's what the eldest does. Because I was proud I could. Small favors became big ones. Gas money turned into car payments. Car payments turned into me co-signing Tessa's hatchback when she was unemployed. The hatchback became the SUV because I needed a new car after a shuttle bus clipped mine and the insurance stalled. I told myself the SUV would be practical for client luggage. It was. It also became the family's moving truck, the weekend bulk shopping chariot, the late-night pickup for Dan after one too many beers. Family helps family, Dad would say, like a seal on every bill I never sent. The worst part, I kept a record. A private spreadsheet no one saw, dates, amounts, justifications. I wasn't tracking to demand repayment. I was proving to myself I wasn't imagining the drain. Every request came with a vibe. If I paused, Tessa tilted her head. Wow, you've changed, Mom sighed. We're not asking for a private jet. Dad's tone hardened. After all we've done for you, when I landed my first major corporate client, a tech team needing a conference in Crete, my parents hosted a dinner to celebrate. Dessert came with a kicker. Your sister's car is dying, Mom said, cutting brownies. Maybe it's time for an upgrade for the kids, Dad added. Simon knows what's right, he's doing well, Tessa grinned. I'd do the same for you, she said, like it was a punchline to a feel-good story. I bought the SUV, not for Tessa, for my business. I liked the safety features, the cargo space for bags, the way it handled rough roads near budget hotels. I let Tessa borrow it sometimes because of the car seats, because asterisk sometimes is a word that phrase when you don't protect it. Then came the incident in the folder. A call at 1 a.m. Tessa, sobbing. It's not a big deal, she said. It looks worse than it is. A familiar street name. Sirens in the background, Dan shouting at someone. He shouldn't have parked there, he repeated, as if that fixed a mangled stop sign. I drove over in my battered compact. The SUV wasn't mine. It was Dan's buddy's car, a loaner. Tessa had hit a curb, hopped it and struck a pole. Airbags deployed. Smoke. The kids were safe at home, thank God. But the excuse the next day was a faulty wheel. The police were kind. They were also blunt. She'd been drinking. The friend's insurance contacted me because I was still the emergency contact for everything. Your family, they said. We assumed you'd want to sort this out. The friend later said, no worries, we're good, with that tone that means the opposite. Tessa swore she'd cover the deductible. We'll take care of it, Dan vowed. I watched the vow drift off like a kite cut loose on purpose. I added a line to my spreadsheet. I didn't tell my parents about the drinking. I told myself I was shielding her. I told myself it wasn't my place to spark a fight. Small fires kept smoldering anyway. A missing $500 from Mom's holiday fund. My name somehow on the donor list for the school raffle, charged to my card. Dan used my business credit card to reserve a hotel, then didn't cancel. It lingered like a leech until my accountant caught it. Then came the part where I was erased from my own story. I saw a cousin's social media post about a family strategy meeting for major choices. A screenshot showed a video call with everyone's faces in tidy squares, except mine. The caption, teamwork makes the dream work. The next day, Mom called like nothing was wrong. Sunday dinner, usual time, she said. Oh, and Tessa's stroller is a nightmare, we'll discuss it. I assembled the folder that afternoon, not to cause a scene, because I was done pretending. I printed the police report, the email thread with Dan's friend, where I apologized for something I didn't do. My spreadsheet, I didn't rehearse a speech. I rehearsed refusing to play along. One more thing happened before Sunday. My operations lead, Lee, pulled me aside after a team huddle. You've been taking calls in the corridor, she said softly. You leave, you come back upset or drained. We cover for you, that's not our job. I opened my mouth, shut it. Simon, she said, we respect you. We love this company. Stop bleeding for people who wound you. I went home and stared at the folder. It stared back. At the dinner table, the photos sat between the gravy and the rolls like an uninvited guest. No one reached for bread. Dad jabbed at the report. What's this? I kept my tone level. Tessa crashed a friend's car after drinking, last autumn. She asked me to keep it quiet. Mom gasped like I'd cursed at a funeral. Don't say drinking asterisk like she's. The breathalyzer result is on page 2, I said. Tessa's face reddened. It was my birthday dinner. I was under the limit when I left the restaurant. The turn was tricky. Dan jumped in. The car's alignment was shot, as if he'd run diagnostics. Uncle Ron whistled low. Those airbag shots, ouch, Dad snapped. Ron, then he turned to me. What's your goal, Simon, to shame your sister? We're discussing the SUV. Exactly, I said. The SUV owned by my company, insured for business use. The SUV you just assigned like it's the last slice of cake. Mom leaned in, hands clasped like a mediator. We're not heartless, we're being practical. Kids, strollers, life. Tessa rolled her eyes. This is why you're alone, you care more about documents than people. I let that slide. I pulled out the second set of papers, my spreadsheet. 3 years highlighted, bank transfers, Venmo notes, groceries, urgent, for the kids, receipts for dance lessons, an invoice I paid for an electrician who didn't take cards. The total looked like a down payment on a car. Dad scoffed. What is this, a ledger? Families don't bill each other. Families also don't take what isn't offered, I said. But you do. Then you call it my generosity so you can call it selfishness if I stop. Mom's voice turned soft. Simon, honey, we're all exhausted. You're stressed. You're successful. You can manage. Tessa and Dan are just starting out. We already supported you. You didn't, I said quietly. You loaned me $300 12 years ago and I paid it back in 10 days. Dad's face hardened. Mind your tone, Tessa slapped the table. This is ridiculous. We came to talk like adults. You brought evidence. I looked at her. You brought a verdict. Dan shifted. Look, she needs a bigger car, the kids. I cut him off with the final piece. The insurance letter with my company's name. The clause about unauthorized drivers and voided policies. If Tessa drives the company SUV and crashes, I said, the claim hits my business policy. If she's over the limit again, my company pays. My team pays. My clients pay. I'm not funding that. The room went still, not busy. Still, Dad tried one last tack. What kind of brother are you? I met his gaze. The kind who's done being an ATM, Mom's eyes flashed. After everything we've given you. Given me, I said. You've charged your vacations, Tessa's parties, Dan's bar tabs, and the new deck chairs to my card. I've paid for flights, refunds, and last-minute hotels for strangers who keep my business running. Those are different contributions, Tessa swallowed. So it's a no. It's a no, I said. You don't get my SUV. You don't get my agreement by surprise. You don't get my silence anymore. Uncle Ron said quietly, "Good for you, kid." Dad stood so fast his chair scraped. "If you leave with that attitude, don't come begging when you need us." I picked up the folder. "I haven't needed you since I learned to cook ramen." Tessa's voice broke. "You're punishing me for one error." I paused at the door. "It's not one. It's the cycle where I pay and you act like it's love." I left the papers on the table. I sat in my SUV in their driveway for a while, engine off, the kind of silence where you feel your heartbeat. My hands trembled, not from fear, from all the times I didn't say what I just said. Lee texted, "How'd it go?" I replied, "I kept the keys." She sent a thumbs up. Then, "You're 10 am. Tomorrow is the school travel board. You good to pitch?" I looked at the dashboard. I felt oddly free. "Yeah," I wrote, "I've got it." The backlash hit before I left their street. Family group chat, the one I was still in somehow. "Mom, your actions today were unkind." "Dad, you shamed your sister." "Tessa, I can't believe you brought that up in front of Uncle Ron Dan." "Not cool, man." I didn't respond. I muted the chat. Then a text from a new number. "Hey Simon, it's Laura, Ron's daughter. We met at Tessa's last holiday party. Just wanted to say I'm proud of you." Someone had to speak up. I didn't know how to handle that. So I flipped my phone over and drove to the car wash like it was a ceremony. I vacuumed dirt from the mats from a client's beach outing. I cleaned smudges from the back window that didn't come from kids I knew. I reset the seats to my height. At home, I opened my laptop and did something small that felt like a transplant. I removed Dad, Mom, Tessa, and Dan from my roadside assistance contacts. I changed my gate code. I told my insurance to limit authorized drivers to one. I texted Lee to order company decals for the SUV. Make it clear it's not a family vehicle. Make it mine, but not just mine, ours. The team's. Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was a performance. She shifted from wounded to worried to practical. "The kids will suffer," she ended. "When they ask why Uncle Simon doesn't care, I hope you have an answer." I walked through my apartment, touching things like they were new. The thrift store kettle, the sofa that held me when I came home drained from a client yelling over a delayed flight, the framed picture of my team at our first real office party. We looked exhausted, proud, and a bit shocked. The next morning, I pitched to the school board without thinking about the SUV. I talked about safe travel plans, insurance, and what to do when a kid chokes on a toy in Prague. They laughed. They nodded. I remembered why I built this, so families can explore without unraveling at the terminal. After the meeting, a parent stopped me. "We've heard good things about you," she said. "From Lee, she said you deliver." She handed me a deposit check in the cafeteria's lingering lunch smell. My hands were steady when I took it. The week after, Dan texted, called, then texted again. "We can figure something out," he wrote. "Maybe we can rent the SUV from you." Rent. As if a fresh term erased the old issue. I didn't reply. Tessa sent a long message that started with "You humiliated me" and ended with "Fine, keep your dumb car." In the middle, she wrote, "You think saying no makes you tough, but it just makes you alone." I stared at that line for a while because it used to hit me. I replied with one sentence, "Saying no makes space." Dad wielded the loneliness angle too. "Your mother can't sleep," he said over the phone, as if sleeplessness was my bill. "Is this who you want to be?" I said. "Yes," and he hung up. Other consequences piled up, the kind you can't log. Mom created a new group chat without me, named it Family. Ron sent me a screenshot because he still had a flair for theatrics. In it, they wrote, "We can't count on Simon anymore, and we need a backup plan." The part that stung and soothed was Ron's response. "Backup plan is everyone paying their own way like grown-ups." The decals went on clean. When I pulled into the office, the SUV had my company's name on the doors. It looked like a choice. We tightened operations. No more free rides for relatives. No more just this once card holds. I showed my accountant the spreadsheet. "Do I need to do anything official?" I asked. She scanned the rows, then looked at me. "Just stop adding to it," she said. On Friday, my cousin Mia called. She spoke like she was in a covert operation. "I'm sorry about my mom," she said. "She's been echoing your parents forever. It's like a playbook." She paused. "I think you gave me permission to stop." Later, she left the family chat. She sent me a screenshot. "Whoops," she wrote. "Tessa didn't crash again. She did something else." She started spinning a new tale in the group chat. "Simon's selfish. Simon forgot what family is. Simon thinks money makes him superior. I learned you can't argue with a story someone needs to keep breathing. You just stop playing a role in it. But sometimes the story fractures anyway." 2 weeks after the dinner, Tessa called from a parking lot. I heard her kids whining in the background. The stroller really doesn't fit in our car, she said, her voice heavy with the kind of exhaustion I knew from my worst travel days. I'm not asking for your SUV, she added fast. Do you know any deals on used vans? From your hotel contacts or something, I exhaled. I know a rental place selling off older models, I said. They're solid. I can send you the info. Her voice softened. Thank you. Pay them directly, I said. No go-between. Not me. Got it, she said. We hung up as the kids kept fussing. It wasn't harmony. It was a door slightly ajar. Air, not yet a gust. The final wave came from Uncle Ron. He asked me to meet at a diner on the edge of town. The one with pie that tastes like cardboard and a server who remembers your order if you tip well. Ron slid into the booth and got to the point. You were right, he said. Your dad makes decisions sound like gospel. He pushed a coffee mug my way. You never ask me for anything, so I'm giving you something, a warning. He said Mom was planning a family reunion with a theme of reconnecting. It would involve a speech, photos of the kids, and a fresh request disguised as sentiment. Don't go, he said. Or if you go, bring the folder. I laughed. For the first time, it didn't feel like a shield. It felt like air. I skipped the reunion. I sent flowers with a note. Enjoy the day, Simon. I chose the simplest arrangement I could find. The card looked like a bill. That was the point. I drove to the shore instead. Not for a poetic sunset. For a parking lot facing a dull sea on a dull day where no one needed me. I drank scalding coffee from a paper cup and watched a couple bicker over a GPS. Then smiled because the fight was small and their day was big. I thought about the word asterisk family. I thought about asterisk it settled. How many years I let those words roll over me like a baggage cart I was expected to push. I thought about how a folder with papers can't change people, but it can change how you sit at a table. My phone buzzed. A new number, a woman's voice. Hi, this is Miss Torres from the middle school. The board loved your pitch. Can we book you for March? She added. We heard you deliver. I smiled. Yes, I said. I do. On the way home, I passed my parents' street because it's the only route unless you want an extra 20 minutes of pointless detour. I didn't slow down. I didn't speed up. I glanced at the turn, then looked ahead. Like passing an exit you're not taking, and your GPS doesn't nag because you're still on the right road. At home, the folder sat on my counter. I nearly tossed it, then stopped. I pulled out the spreadsheet and drew a line at the bottom. In neat letters, I wrote, no new entries. Then I put the folder in a drawer, not to hide it, but to keep it out of my front seat. Later that week, a postcard came from a client family I'd rebooked at 3 a.m. when their kid got sick in Florence. The front showed the kid holding a gelato as big as his face. The back read, we made it. Thanks for showing up when we freaked out. You saved our vacation. No one had to call me selfish to make that feel small. It was enough on its own. I wrote a note and taped it inside my door where only I'd see it. I don't owe my silence to be loved. The next Sunday, I skipped dinner. I went for a hike. I cooked pasta that tasted like my early 20s. But this time, I added time because I could. I watched a show and ignored my phone. When it pinged, it was a photo from Mia, her kids in a used minivan, grinning, crumbs already scattered. We did it, she wrote. They did it. I sent a thumbs up, not because I didn't care. Because sometimes a short, clear reply is what a boundary feels like. Family helps family, Dad says. He means I do it for them. I've decided it means something else. It means I protect the family I'm building, my team, my clients, the friends who show up without sending bills, the kids in a van I didn't buy but helped locate, the man in the mirror who finally learned to say no. It's settled by me.